give you guys a quick introduction to what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to be getting into a lot of stuff that has to do with Mars and Saturn and the moon, and just the real history of what we have been told about extraterrestrials and everything like that. So I want to thank you guys again, and let's get into the video. Now, most of the time when it comes to UFO things, the information is not always clear. You know, we see all the home videos and everything like that people put out. It's always something to give us a lot of skepticism about UFOs when we see a lot of these videos. So a lot of people don't take it seriously, and we don't always look into extraterrestrial phenomena because a lot of people just classify it as crazy. But when you go and research a lot of the real details about a lot of UFO sightings around America, around the world, actually, it's a lot of validity to a lot of the stories. What I was saying before about, you know, the issues with so many people not being able to believe the UFO stuff that's going on and all the phenomena that we've seen around the world with the sightings and all the pictures and everything, the videos, is what I do with my research is some things that you can look at that you can use to tell what's true and what's not true. So what I do with my research is, you know, a lot of times when we look at information that we can't tell if it's true or not, I just examine, you know, all of the details about that situation, and it's easier to tell what's true or not because, you know, you can say to yourself, why would they do something like this if this is not true? Or why wouldn't they do that if this is true, you know, and vice versa, or not true, or vice versa. So this is how I approach a lot of my research some of the time. Sometimes you can see something that tells you a lot, actually speak louder than words. So it's like, why do you do this, or why hide this, or why put this here if this is not true? This is some of the things we're going to discuss in this film, things that the government do and has done that really alludes to there being a really huge UFO phenomenon. It's not always easy to look at what we read and what we hear about UFOs, about Mars, about the moon and Saturn, and to, you know, honestly take it as actual fact. So, you know, TV is one of the reasons why we can't do that. And it's just a lot of things sound so far-fetched, and we've been dumbed down by TV not to accept things as proof, as fact. So it's easier for us to just really go by the mistakes that the government made and the things that they do that kind of allude to them trying to cover things up. And this is what we're going to really address in this video. So you have to ask yourself questions like, you know, if there wasn't a UFO phenomena, if it wasn't, you know, real true reports of UFO sightings or what have you, why would NASA, why would scientists be spending so much money, billions and billions of dollars on satellites? You know, it costs millions of dollars to keep these satellites working, you know, a year, millions of dollars. And it costs, you know, even more money for them to be built. And it's not so much that it's just America, because you got to remember, we had these satellites, you know, some of them since the 70s. So you got to ask yourself, okay, so we know America and Russia with the satellites and everything like that. If it wasn't, you know, no sightings, you know, we got these antennas listening for radio signals or what have you. If we never found any, if it wasn't any sightings, why do we keep funding it? Why do we keep spending money? And not just that, why have other countries around the world also spent billions of dollars to build satellites and, you know, to listen and to watch space as well? So these are things we got to look at. We got to look at these things and question them as, you know, if there wasn't a UFO phenomenon, if it wasn't an extraterrestrial phenomenon, then why spend billions of dollars to monitor this non-existing phenomenon? Why spend millions of dollars trying to maintain these equipment, these satellites, these antennas to, you know, monitor these so-called non-existent, you know, extraterrestrial phenomena? So these are some of the things you got to really look into and just say, you know, if not, then why? You know, why do this? And we all know that when a person is trying to cover up something, then, you know, of course they're going to lie. And one of the things we got to look at is NASA has never, they are notoriously known for not telling us the truth. You know, the whole slogan with NASA, never a straight answer. So we can't hardly expect them to give us any truth. So we got to dig deeper and look into the history and the facts surrounding the extraterrestrial phenomena and everything that we have been seeing. So we're going to get into this and a lot more in this video. Now, this is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI for short. This antenna costs millions of dollars to build and millions of dollars a year to maintain. And again, the question you got to ask yourself is, one, why? Why would you in the first place spend millions of dollars to build an antenna to listen to what's in outer space, or to try to record what's going on in outer space if you have no reason to do so. So millions of dollars to maintain this antenna, which they've been maintaining it for years, and you would think after a certain amount of time that they would shut these things down because it absorbs so much money to maintain it, to keep it going. But yet we have seen more antennas go up around the world, and more new technology geared towards understanding and recording and maintaining machines and devices and all kinds of things that's going to record space and record, the possible existence of extraterrestrial life or what have you. So you would think, why spend all this time and money on something that you are not 100% sure is true, or that you don't have any kind of inkling, or any kind of anything that will help you justify spending this kind of time and money on something like this. Now, when we read about SETI, it says here, when it comes to the search for intelligent extraterrestrial life throughout the universe, we've already been sitting quietly and using the search for extraterrestrial intelligence SETI initiative to listen to spikes in radioactive activity throughout our universe that could be coming from sources of intelligent life. And it says down here, SETI has already managed to discover some faint signals, but scientists aren't so sure they're coming from aliens. In fact, lots of interference from the Earth itself or from other sources in space could be, I'm going to say that again, from other sources in space could be clouding our understanding of what looks like an alien's attempt to communicate. Now just think about what it could possibly mean by other sources in space. Now this is the Allen Telescope Array. This is something that SETI has spent money to have built, and to also try to get information about, extraterrestrials and UFOs. This is another satellite or another antenna that costs millions of dollars to maintain and build. They're supposed to have built like 47 of them, and there's supposed to be a huge array of these antennas that was supposed to be spread for miles. But supposedly they had an idea that they was going to use them for, and there was some funding issues, and supposedly they shut down most of these antennas. But again, just like with the SETI antennas, it's talking about here. It says SETI Institute Center for SETI Research, CSR for short, uses ATA, which is the Allen Telescope Array, in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, observing 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, from 2007 to 2015. ATA has identified hundreds of millions of technological signals. See that again. ATA has identified hundreds of millions of technological signals so far. All these signals have been assigned the status of noise or radio frequency interference because A, they appear to be generated by satellites or Earth-based transmitters, or B, they disappear before the threshold time limit of 1 hour, which means they had to basically hold on to the signal for an hour before they can completely confirm what it is. Researchers and CSR are presently working on ways to reduce the threshold time limit and to expand ATA's capabilities for direction of signals that may have embedded messages. So now you got to understand what it's saying here. One, it's talking about how they can't really tell 100% what the signals are because they get a lot of interference from Earth-based technological signals. So you would think when they built this machine, when they built these antennas, when they was drawing them up, that they would have some kind of radius set into the detection system of these antennas. So just think about it like this. You have the Earth, and let's say the radius or the area of Earth, and the radius and the area of the satellites that's above the Earth. So if you calculate the entire radius of the planet and factor in those satellites, anything that's in that radius, what it is. It's either coming from Earth Well, you know it's coming from these satellites in space. So it shouldn't be hard for you to differentiate between what's coming from Earth and what is coming from the satellites in space. Anything past that radius, you should know it's a signal from space. But you have to understand like why it's going to keep telling you this. And I'm going to get into this in a little bit. It's going to always have a but, because you got to understand what NASA is about. Of course, they're not going to tell us what's going on. It's going to always be a but. One breath or one line is talking about, basically we picking up millions of signals out there. Then what are these millions of signals? What is that? And they have a threshold time limit of 1 hour, meaning they need to hold on to these signals for an hour to properly identify them. That's something that's suspect. And to me, if you hold on to a signal that seems to be a radio signal from somewhere else and you hold on to it for 10 minutes, that should tell you right there that it's definitely, something from probably extraterrestrials or something that is man-made or artificial, I should say. But this is the excuse that they're going to keep giving us. And you'll see anybody who's into this research, you'll be reading research from NASA, or you'll be reading research from a lot of researchers, and it'll always have that but. It seems like they have a concrete, hands down analysis or lock on this whole extraterrestrial phenomenon, and then it's a but. There's always an unsure uncertainty somewhere that's involved, and it's confusing to people who do their research. But when you look at the fine print of NASA, when you understand the laws and what's going on, things start to make a lot more sense. Now, as I said, every time we look at any of the footage of UFOs, every time we see information about extraterrestrials or what have you, we can never really accept that information because of how it's presented. It's always presented with a but. It's always presented with an asterisk or something like that, or it's not 100% certain. And as I said, because of television, we are desensitized basically to the prospect or the possibility of UFOs or what have you. So again, a lot of people look at the news, and if the news ain't talking about it, if the news is not saying that it's true, then we just, we leave it alone. So when you see these videos and when you see people talking about extraterrestrials, we say, well, if it was real, the news would have shown us or said something about it. And we have to realize that the people who want to keep this information away from us own this whole news media, as I always talk about. So now what we have to understand is, even if they found 100% proof of extraterrestrials, they have already taken care of the media. One, they own it, but they have already put into law that even if researchers or scientists or what have you find this information, if you control the media, the major means of putting out information to the masses of people, then the masses are not going to get it. You can put it on YouTube, you can put it online all you want. It will be accepted as bullcrap or will be suspect just like every other video. And that's the whole thing with the internet. You can put something out that's 100% true because it's on the internet and because mainstream media is not talking about it, because mainstream media has earned the trust for some reason of, Americans and people around the world that just believe the media about everything. The media is not saying it. It can't be true. It can't be possible. Then it's easy for them to basically hide everything and to have us really skeptical about anything involving extraterrestrials or UFOs. So one, you have to understand the laws. You have to understand what they have put in place to basically tell us, one, that they're never going to tell us the truth, and we're never going to know the truth. All this NASA stuff and everything that they're talking about is just smoke and mirrors, and it's all geared towards, one, them doing their research and doing what they want to do as far as space exploration, and then telling us what they want us to know or telling us nothing at all. But I want you to take a listen to Richard Hoagland. And we're going to get into Richard Hoagland a lot in this video and the stuff he talks about. And a lot of you may have heard of him and seen some of the stuff he has put out. But I want to clarify. Well, I want to give you my stance on what I think of him and his research and everything like that. But I want you to listen to what he's saying, because some of the stuff he said in this video is true. But, the premise of the video, what the video is really about, is bullshit, which we'll get into later. But take a listen and understand what NASA is really about and why they won't tell us anything. So basically what Richard Hoagland is saying is, it's law. So even if they found something that pertains to extraterrestrials and the truth about them, they're not going to tell us because they see us as children. We won't be able to handle it. It's going to destroy America. It's going to destroy the world if we knew the truth about extraterrestrials. Which tells you why show to the world that you're going to go to the moon and that you're doing all this stuff with space or what have you. But then you have this law in place saying that we are not going to tell you the truth about anything. So then you have to think back. What if when you were supposedly showing the entire world the whole moon landing, what if aliens would have flew by? Did you not once think of that? You got to think about that. What if, during that time, it was live. Remember, there was supposed to be a live viewing of them going to the moon, which I proved in my video was bullshit. And we're going to get into that in this video as well. But what if UFOs would have passed by or something like that? And, then what? That basically throws your whole entire plan, out the door as far as not showing the world the truth about extraterrestrials. And the fact that you would try to put a law in place and put something in place to not tell us shows us that either you already know that such a thing exists and you have been dealing with it or you have proof about it or what have you. So they wouldn't put this law in place. They wouldn't put this whole thing in place if they didn't know for sure. So basically, you got to understand, one, they're not going to tell us the truth. Any kind of information pertaining to extraterrestrial life is going to be classified as national security, and it has to be deemed national security, a security issue, a security risk for you to give it to the public. So it's not going to be put out there. Now, if you get your own information, you're welcome to put it online, and then it's going to be scrutinized, and they're going to try to make you look crazy, and then people are going to look at it as if it's bullshit and it's bogus because it's online and it's not on the news. And we understand why that is. So now, Richard Hoagland is the guy who is known for the face on Mars. And a lot of you probably heard about this before, as I said, about their whole face on Mars thing. And he was the one who was really pushing it, him and his team, about, it being artificial and everything like that. So now this basically goes back to November 14th, 1971 with the Mariner 9 mission. It basically went to Mars and took pictures, I should say, of, dead volcanoes and canyons and basically dried up riverbeds. So February 8th, 1972, you have Mariner basically take pictures of an area known as Elysium Planitia. And Elysium Planitia is where they found pyramids, or so-called pyramids on Mars.